I would like to say that I believe that there's going to be something that happens with the team after the season. But as it stands right now, the Atlanta Falcons have a problem. The Atlanta Falcons just lost to the Carolina Panthers, which are one of the worst football teams we've seen in recent memory. And they lost in front of about 12 people where tickets were going for 40 cents a piece. And that's not a lie. There were actual ticket prices out there going for 40 cents. Think about that. A bottle of Windex at the 99-cent store is more expensive than 2 tickets to a Panthers game.
So you're saying it was like the Miami Hurricane years before they got blown up by Schnellenberger. They was leaving tickets on the cars, on the counters at fast food restaurants.
Right. What's the other? Rob Parker has a joke. He says, I left 2 tickets on my dashboard. I came back and there were 4. Like that's how bad they were. But yeah, like it's just not going well for the Falcons. And that, they find themselves behind New Orleans and Tampa Bay in the NFC South. I guess technically they've still got an opportunity to win that division. But as it stands right now, they're not really totally sure who's going to be their starting quarterback because they've got Desmond Ridder, they've got Taylor Heineke, and Arthur Smith, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, spoke about his decision on this upcoming game.
There's a lot that goes into it, and same thing, as being the head coach. We all got to be accountable, and there's a great responsibility, and that's what you sign up for. And there's a lot that goes into that, and there's also a lot that needs to go right around the quarterback too. But working through it, and we ultimately got to make the best decision for his team so we can go win this game Sunday against Indianapolis.
All right. I'm going to throw a what-if scenario at you, LaVar Arrington.
Okay, come on.
In a show filled with what-ifs. All right. Actually, I'm not even doing a what-if. I'm going to call my shot right now.
Okay.
The starting quarterback next year for the Atlanta Falcons will be Justin Fields. Justin Fields is, and look, everybody in Chicago loves him, but I find it hard to believe that the Bears, if they're sitting there with the number 1 pick via their trade with the Carolina Panthers, are going to turn away the chance to draft Caleb Williams, who is considered a quote-unquote generational talent. So if they've got to move on, Justin Fields makes all the sense in the world for the Atlanta Falcons. First of all, he grew up there. He played high school ball and grew up about 45 minutes from Atlanta. The Falcons will have an opportunity to control his rights and at least see what they've got. And if you believe the reports coming out of Atlanta, Arthur Smith, who's an offensive-minded head coach, he's going to be there and going to be returning next season. Drake London's a stud. You've got Kyle Pitts. You've got Bijan Robinson. Like, it feels like you need an answer at quarterback. They were in on the Deshaun Watson stuff, and Deshaun Watson, they were outbid by the Cleveland Browns. I think Justin Fields makes a lot of sense for the Atlanta Falcons and for Justin Fields at the end of this whole thing. What do you think about that?
I mean, it could play out that way. I think Justin Fields is showing that. Does it make sense to go after what would be perceived as a generational talent in Caleb Williams when you have a guy who has gone through the heat and the fire of some lean years in Chicago and still is continuing to show growth as a player, development as a pro player? This Chicago team is showing improvement ever since they got Montez Sweat on the defensive side of the ball. It's made things different because of the pressure, and you've seen guys like Jaquan Brisker come to life and what their production is.
We are.
Yeah, that's right. It's a strong secondary. It's a strong young defensive core that they have there. They had some pretty good pieces in place in Chicago. And it just leads you to believe that they need to just continue to try to build out around what they have in terms of with Justin Fields at quarterback. Now, if you feel as though it's a can't-miss situation, because right now, I mean, I don't even know that Caleb Williams, and calling him a generational talent, I don't even know that he is being looked at as the best quarterback in the draft right now at this point. Yeah, it's always about recency effect, right? So right now you got what's my guy? Is it Drake May?
Drake May.
And then you got the other one that just won the Heisman that everybody's looking at, and now really paying Jaden Daniels,
J.J. McCarthy,
paying a lot of attention to those players in particular. So if he's not going to be the first quarterback possibly perceivably taken in the draft, he's not the highest rated player in the draft anymore. How do you look at him as being a generational talent? Because it seemed like kind of the things, and I know Q would be going nuts right now and would come back with some stats and stuff like that to support an argument against what I'm saying, but I don't know how you can look at a player as being a generational talent if he doesn't grade well enough to be the best player, and there's other players that are at the same position as you coming out in that same draft. So I don't know that Caleb Williams is being viewed exactly the same way he was being viewed when he was at the top of and the height of, what he was doing as a player last season when he won the Heisman. I mean, sure, he had a great year all the way up until the wheels fell off this year. But again, I don't know that the best decision for Chicago would be going away from Justin Fields.
Look, there's a lot that has to play out. I just wonder if there's enough time, if there's any doubt in the front office in Chicago for Justin Fields to prove that he's the guy they should move forward with. That's my curiosity.
I think he's done more to prove that he's the guy they should move forward with versus not.
I like him, and I think you talk to anybody within the you've got Darnell Mooney, you've got DJ Moore. They all want him as their quarterback. There's a lot to like about Justin Fields. I just wonder if it's too tantalizing for the organization to pass on the opportunity to take somebody like a Caleb Williams or Drake May if they feel like they're that much of a talent.
But again, and you name the receivers that they have, and I mean, decent names.
And by the way, quick update on what we started the story with originally, because this just came out. According to Josh Kendall of The Athletic, the Falcons are going to start Taylor Heineke, and they are going to be benching Desmond Ridder this upcoming game against Indianapolis this weekend. So
that's very telling, by the way. That's very telling, and it'll be interesting to see what he does, because Heineke was a pretty solid player for the Commanders and had some really good showings for that team. And you wonder if he can maybe possibly establish himself as the guy they move forward with. I wouldn't say that that's out of the realm of possibility, but with that being said, if Atlanta's, as we pivoted really, really quickly away from Chicago, but if Atlanta doesn't see what they need to see out of Tyler Heineke, and they've benched Desmond Ridder, then you got to believe with what they've put in place, because that's a pretty doggone good team. Defensively, they got some good guys. Offensively, they got some players. They got some playmakers on that side
Drake
of the ball.
London, Robinson, Kyle Pitt, you
got some players.
There's a reason why they could afford to trade Calvin Ridley. They're talented, man.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they go get a quarterback, or they want to go after a quarterback. How they get there, if it's a trade to get Justin Fields, I don't know. If I'm Chicago, I don't allow Justin Fields to go. I stick it out with him, and if I'm Atlanta, I figure out how I get a really, really good quarterback to go with this group of guys, and before you run out of time.